right, so I'm going to do a little pathing work today. Pathing, when you're talking about machine embroidery, is how you connect all of the elements. And in an ideal world, you want to connect as many elements as possible without putting any trims in. So it'll sew one thing here, go over here, so another thing here, so another thing, all over until you can't hide those travel stitches anymore. I have a flintlock pistol design that I'm going to work on, and it's a great design. It sews out really cleanly every time. It's very large, like 45,000 stitches, so it takes like 1 1/4 bobbins to sew it out, but that's the only thing I have to do. Once I get it in the machine, it runs through the whole design with only stopping for me to change out the bobbin. I've run it maybe 20 times so far, and I was watching it run the other day, or I was like nearby when I was running the other day, and I noticed that when I digitized this, almost everything is pathed as well as it can be, except for this purple bit right here under the gun, or under the barrel. It sews out these 2 purple bits, and then it sews this out, but it could be connected and it's not. And the reason this matters is because every time the machine trims, it takes time, right? It only adds a couple of seconds, but once you start sewing this design out thousands of times, that's a lot of time that it's just taking up on the machine that it doesn't need to be on the machine. And then also every time your machine trims, it's an opportunity for something to go wrong. It doesn't usually go wrong. I mean, there's, several trims in this design, and things don't go wrong, generally speaking, but there's an opportunity there where you might get a false bobbin break or a false thread break, or you might get a real bobbin break or a real thread break, or maybe it won't quite trim all the way and it's gonna travel somewhere else in the design and start sewing, and then you've got this stitch that you have to deal with at the end of the design that I don't want to deal with, and it's not locked in place as well as it could be. So I want to avoid trims whenever possible, and we're going to do that on here. So let me just up the speed a little bit, and we can watch this sew out. So while this is sewing out, you can see that some things are pathed really well, some things are not pathed as well as they could be. I'm gonna up the speed a little bit more because it can go faster than this. There we go. All those traveling stitches, that's the goal, is traveling from the barrel to the trigger to the piece that holds the flint to the handle, and all of those travels are gonna get covered up by other stitches. So there are some places that can't do that, right? Where the pink jump from the barrel to the trigger, there has to be trims there. There's no way around it. But we're about to get to the purple, and we can very much sew that out better. So you see it's trim, 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 and then all of those happen, it trimmed, and then it went through that. I can stop that. I can sew, travel, sew all of this out, and then trim and cut. So that's gonna be the goal. That's what we're gonna work on today. It's not particularly hard to do, which is nice. And it's all the way at the very, very end. But you can see between each of these little pieces, there is a trim in the software. And again, most of that is necessary, but not all of it. We can certainly do better. So I'm gonna take these 2, I'm gonna move them up to right underneath these. I'm gonna delete that extra trim because it doesn't need to be there. We could do that at the end when it saves, it'll do it on its own, but I like to do it. And then let's zoom in and take a look at this. So where the circle is where it's gonna start, and since it's way up here, it's gonna start at the outside corner, and then where the X is where it's gonna end. I wanna end this, actually, I think that's actually good. I'm gonna switch these. I'm gonna put this one first, end it here, and then I'm using my hotkeys, but for me, my walk normal is an N. So I'm gonna click that N, I'm gonna click right in where that white crosshair is. I'm gonna bring it over and down to the center of that piece so I can put a walk normal in there. I'm gonna move my starting point to be right in between those crosshairs of my walk normal where it ended. And then my next stitch will end on the top corner, which is good. And then this is already padded between this piece and 67, which is this piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk back to where that one wants to start. So I will end here, start with a walk normal. Oop, I'm in the wrong place. Let me make sure I'm clicked on the right piece to end. Start with a walk normal. I'm gonna start right on that crosshair, bring it over, bring it up. It doesn't really need to go all the way up, but it will on its own when I do the next bit. Move my start crosshair to here. And then I'm gonna push this update ties button. And if I'm successful, there should be no ties between here and here. So that little bit should sew out nicely now. And let's slow the speed down a little bit. Zoom out just a smidge. Get it centered, and then let's watch purple. So it's gonna sew out that little detail. There's a trim, sew out the next one, trim, next one, trim, and then it's gonna path all of that really nicely before it trims for the last four purple pieces. I'm really happy with that. Now, it could be a little better. I could make it even a little bit faster here if I reordered this a little bit. So if instead we sew this one first, and then walk to the next one, and then go from that one to here and up, that's gonna save us just that little bit of travel between these two and then having to come all the way back over. So let's do that, because why not, right? So we will end that on this corner, and then we're going to start that one where this one starts, move our endpoint to here, and then start this one where that one stopped, move our endpoint to here, and then we will start this walk normal right there and update our ties. And look, no trims, and we've just eliminated a few more stitches. Was it totally necessary? In the grand scheme of things, no, that was a fraction of a second. But 20 years from now, if I'm still embroidering this design on t-shirts, fraction of a second matters. So I think it's worth it. I'm glad that we've done it. Now on this design, as you can see, there are two pistols. So I've updated design 1, and then design 2, which is the second pistol, wants to be the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and just close everything so it's easier to see. I'm gonna select this design and I'm gonna copy it. And then I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. I'm gonna bring it down and line it up exactly where the other design is, right on top of it. And I'm turning the other design on and off to make sure I can't see that it's different. It's slightly off, it looks like, so I can see these purple guys move. Is it slightly off? Nah, I don't think it is. I think it's good. So I'm gonna delete the original one that was down there. And now you can see design 2 is pathed the same way that design 1 is. So I've got designs 1, I've got designs 2, and I've shaved off 10 seconds from this stitch out, because now I've eliminated 3 trims that don't need to be there, and it's just a place where things could go wrong. If we look at the rest of the design, which I think is patterned really nicely, I don't think it needs any updates, but let's check it while we're here, and let's just put one piece in at a time. So we're looking at the teal. No, there are no trims the entire way through. You'll see where I've run this pathing through, and I've kept it kind of wide. I don't like to put my walk normal pathing right on top of another walk normal, just for stitch density reasons. Like, once I put a fill on top of that also has underlay, like, there's just, I don't need that many stitches right on top of each other. And by doing it this way, where you're kind of filling out the shape that will be there, because we can see right here, it's kind of filling out this shape, it's kind of stabilizing that fabric to the, or, you know, patting it down or priming it down to the stabilizer as it's going. So it's not going to hurt anything. Maybe it'll help a little bit, probably not. But once you're getting all this stuff happening here, you know, there is push in the fabrics. We're filling in a lot of thread between those fibers. So it's going to help things from, like, rippling up further. So it's kind of helpful. So that one's good. There are a couple of trims in the pink section. If we turn that on, we can see why. This one will stitch out. It paths nicely to this next stitch. We actually probably could go from here to here and eliminate another trim. So let's do that while we're here. I will go from here. I'm gonna do a walk normal, hitting right off of here. And we can see that we can kind of do a loop up to make that happen. So I will stitch right there, maybe come up a little bit to make sure I'm like nice and, maybe that's too far. Let me zoom in a little bit. I want to get in there nice and clean. So we will do a walk normal, slightly up, slightly over. I'm gonna come straight down in, and that feels like a good place for it. And then we'll start this right on that crosshair, ending it at the top. And then it's gonna go over to this piece. And this is another good opportunity. Let's run from here over to that, because why are we not doing that? Seems like a waste, doesn't it? So we're gonna start the purple right over here. And then we can run a walk normal. I don't like where that ends. Let's end that on the other side to make our life a little bit easier. And then we'll do a walk normal up and over to there. And then this one's gonna start right here. And then that's gonna, it'll start here and end here. And then it will go up with a run to there and then end on that one. And if we update these ties, there are no trims now between any of the pinks. So we just saved more time on this design. That's great. We love that. If we go to orange, there will have to be a trim for this guy up here because nothing connects to it. The only way to get there would be going through the mint color that's already there, and we don't want to do that. And same for down here. We don't want to sew over the pink. Some people do. If you can get in there, and I've done this on some other designs, if you can get in there and get your travel to run between the stitches and you shrink that in a discrete place. I wouldn't do it right here because it's pretty there, but in a discrete place in a small design, and you shrink your stitch length down. I've got, these are running at 40. If you shrink those down to 30 points, it'll kind of sink into the fibers. And if it's tonal, you know, if it's not a huge contrast, you can kind of hide it, but I'm not going to do that on this. I don't think that's a good plan. Oop, I got a phone call from my mom. I will call you back in a minute, Mom. And then moving on to the next purple, it's only one piece. Zoom out a little bit. That was the flint right here. Can't do anything with that. The next pink is all of this. Everything is padded nicely, so we don't need to do anything with that. The teal below does have some trims. Most of the first section is this flower here. Oop, go away. Is this big flower here. That's padded nicely. And then we go on to these guys, these next four. And they're far enough away in such a high contrast color, and we would be going over something so textural with like really defined carved lines in the stitching that I think it would be too visible. So I'm gonna leave those as trims because I don't think it's worth gaining a couple of seconds at the risk of it being visible. So we'll leave that one alone. And then our last one is our purple that we have already looked at, and we already know all the trims that are there are necessary. So that's quite good. I'm quite happy with that. So once again, we made a couple adjustments to the pink. So let's go ahead and copy and paste to get a second design. Rotate this 180 degrees. Ooh. And why is that not selecting? There we go. Okay. Select the whole design, move it down, right on top of that one. I'll turn it on and off to make sure it's about the right place. It looks great. I will delete the original design. And now in total, we've saved like 15, 20 seconds off of the stitch out for this. And again, that doesn't sound like a lot for a single stitch out, but you know, I've done 20 of these already. In this week alone, I've done maybe 7 of these. That's a few minutes of my time. And time's expensive. I'm only running one machine right now, so I can't sew anything else out until this is off the machine. So I'm quite happy. I think we've just made this a little bit better. So I'm gonna do, this is really important, I'm going to save as, updated. I'm gonna save it, and I'm gonna run this one first. The next time I run this design, I'm gonna run the updated design and make sure there are no stitch out problems where I've made those trim edits. If anything causes an issue, if it bunches somewhere weird, if I was like, oh, that was a bad idea for that path, or something went wrong, I have the original file still, and I can go back and make tweaks to that, or I can make wee tweaks to this, but I'm not anticipating any problems. Nothing looks like it should cause an issue, so it should stitch out really, really nicely. All right, I'm out.